Hello and welcome to Cinema of Blood. My name is John, and today 50 years of horror movies continues. I have got 5 spooky, scary, frightening movies from the year 1996. This is actually my second time recording this video. I recorded the other day and I got through it. And I just thought to myself, I said, you know what? I said, I don't feel right about this video. I felt distracted throughout the video. And I thought, you know what? You can always do this over. So just go ahead and let's do that. All right. So that being said, let's get underway. And I hope you guys like the lighting now. I've got my light closer to my camera. I got so tired of being in like these shadows and I felt like I couldn't see myself and stuff. And of course I still got my werewolf candle lit over here. Alright, so first up we have got Bad Moon, and this is directed by Eric Red. The screenplay is by Eric Red, and it is based on the novel Thor by Wayne Smith. It stars Mariel Hemingway, Michael Paré, and Mason Gamble, aka Dennis the Menace from the movie remake of Dennis the Menace. Alright, so what this is about is Michael Paré's character at the beginning of the movie is attacked and nearly killed by a werewolf, and anybody knows that whosoever is bitten by a werewolf and lives becomes a werewolf himself, and that is exactly what happens. Now, we don't know that at first, you know, of course, but everybody that watches werewolf movies does. Anyway, he goes to live at the home of his sister and her son, played by Mariel Hemingway and Mason Gamble, alright? And everything seems to be going fine, except for one thing about this is that the family dog, Thor, he kind of gets the sensation that something is not quite right about good old Uncle. I'm trying to think of his name. I cannot think of his name in this. I think it's Ted. Yeah, I think it's Ted. Good old Uncle Ted. You know, and the dog in his own dog way tries to warn the family, hey, this dude ain't right. And it gets him nothing but taken to the pound for his trouble. There's a very sad scene where he gets taken to the pound. Meanwhile, Uncle Ted can carry out his werewolf rampage against anybody that comes along, including his sister and his nephew. Alright, so now it is up to the nephew, because the nephew's kind of the only one that listens to Thor, because Thor is his dog. He's got to figure out a way to convince other people that this Uncle Ted is not what he appears to be. So that's Bad Moon. I like this movie. I did. The first time I saw it, I didn't quite like it as much as I thought I would, and but then I've watched it a few more times and it's grown on me. I've had a lot of fun with this movie, just watching it every now and then. Alright, so that is Bad Moon. So next up, what do we have? We have got The Frighteners, and this is directed by Peter Jackson. The screenplay is by Fran Walsh and Peter Jackson. It stars Michael J. Fox, Trini Alvarado, Peter Dobson, Dee Wallace, Jake Busey, and Jeffrey Combs. Alright, so what this is about is Michael J. Fox's character is he's kind of a psychic slash paranormal cleanser, investigator, whatever. But what he does is he can see ghosts. And he's actually kind of like buddies with some of these ghosts. And what they've done is they've created this scam. And what it is these ghosts will go in and haunt a house. The people will call him, and he'll come and exorcise them for a price. All right, nice little scam going on there. Thing about it though is now there is an entity that is killing people at a really pretty rapid rate. All right, I mean, just like he just thrusts his hand right through these people and just kills them. All right. So now it's up to Michael J. Fox's character, I think it's Frank is his name, and these ghosts to try to figure out how to stop this murderous entity before it's too late and before his own life is taken in the process. Alright, Dee Wallace and Jake Busey play a couple that are trying to, and I'm not going to say if they're a couple of humans or a couple of ghosts, but they're trying to beat the record of several serial killers. Like if they kill somebody, they go, oh, that's 25. That's one more than so-and-so, or one more than this person, or whatever. This movie's a lot of fun. I had a good time with it. It's not, I didn't like it as much as Dead Alive, but Dead Alive in itself is just its own little entity in the first place. So, alright, that is The Frighteners. Alright, moving on. Okay, next up, we have got From Dusk Till Dawn, and this is directed by Robert Rodriguez. The story is by Robert Kurtzman. The screenplay is by Quentin Tarantino, and it stars George Clooney, Quentin Tarantino, Juliette Lewis, Harvey Keitel, Tom Savini. Who else is in this movie? I'm trying to remember. Tom Savini, Fred Williamson, Danny Trejo is in it. Danny Trejo is in every single Robert Rodriguez movie in some way or another. Alright, so there you go. And what's bad is you got these two brothers, the Gecko brothers. They are bank robbers. They've just robbed a bank. They've killed a Texas Ranger. They've taken a woman hostage. And they need to get the hell away. They need to make it to Mexico to meet up with their contact. So they commandeer a motorhome that is driven by a family man and recently widowed, or the widowed reverend, played by Harvey Keitel, along with his daughter Kate, played by Juliette Lewis, and his adopted son, who is, I can't remember, Scott, and he is Asian. All right. Anyway, they commandeer this vehicle and they take them to Mexico, and they end up at a place called the Titty Twister. Now you're sitting there thinking, okay, how is this a horror movie to begin with? The beginning of it almost seems like it's a heist or a bank robber movie, or a chase movie, a heist movie, and then they get to the Titty Twister and they meet Santanico Pandemonium, and she's played by Selma Hayek, and I cannot believe I didn't mention her name in the first place. Anyway, Santanico is a very voluptuous, very beautiful, exotic dancer with a snake around her neck and everything. A little more to tell you about that in a minute. And things go wrong, and next thing you know, pretty much all the dancers, the bartender, the band, everybody except the people that are there to have a good time turn into these ugly, vicious vampires, and all hell breaks loose. In fact, if you read the screenplay for From Dusk Till Dawn, you'll see that one thing: all hell breaks loose. Seriously. All right. So now it is up to our heroes, led by the Gecko brothers and Harvey Keitel and Juliette Lewis, and an assorted group of others, including Tom Savini as Sex Machine, to do battle against these horrific vampires and try to survive from dusk till dawn. All right. So what I was going to say about Selma Hayek: when she was offered the part of Santanico Pandemonium, she originally turned it down because she is deathly afraid of snakes. But Robert Rodriguez wanted her in this movie so bad, he just did everything. So finally he told her, he said, hey, look, Madonna is interested in the part. If you're not going to take it, I'm going to give it to her. She wanted the part so badly, she went to therapy for 2 months to help her over her phobia of snakes. That's how bad she wanted the part of Santanico Pandemonium. All right. So there you go. Next up, we have got Scream. And Scream is directed by Wes Craven. I don't know why I didn't remember that for a minute, but Wes Craven, I should have known that. I know that. The screenplay is by Kevin Williamson. It stars Neve Campbell, Courtney Cox, David Arquette, Skeet Ulrich, Matthew Lillard, and you got to include Drew Barrymore in this. And if you've seen Scream, you know what happens to Drew Barrymore at the beginning of the movie. But basically the movie is about Neve Campbell and her friends, and they are trying to survive against this masked killer. Now, I don't think he's called Ghostface in the movie, but he's always been known as Ghostface ever since this movie came out. But the thing about Scream is not so much them trying to survive, it is what it actually did to the horror movie industry. Because in this movie what happens is there are two movie-loving characters that point out all the tropes of of horror movies, all the rules, like, you know, when you leave a room, don't ever say, I'll be right back, because you're not going to be, and other little rules, you know, and the whole thing about if you're running like hell and the killer is, you know, just walking, he's going to catch you anyway. It doesn't matter. So it kind of made people more aware of things like that in horror movies. Like, why does somebody, my wife always used to say this, because somebody, when they're running, they would always run up. And my wife said, you always run out of up. You know, and that's true. And another thing is that if you knock, you know, if you like shoot the killer, or you stab the killer and they're lying there dead, first of all, take their weapons. Second of all, get the hell out of there. Or double tap. You know, if you got to shoot them twice to make sure they're dead, shoot them twice to make sure they're dead. Anyway, that is kind of the plot and kind of what Scream did to the horror movie industry, or not the industry, but kind of to horror movie watchers. All right, so there you go. That is Scream. Finally, we come to Thinner, and this is directed by Tom Holland. It is written by Tom Holland and Michael McDowell, and it is based on the novel, and this says here based on the novel by Stephen King, and of course it's actually based on the novel written by Richard Bachman, but of course we know that Richard Bachman is Stephen King. But I'm going to say it's based on the novel by Bachman, because I don't know about you guys, but the Bachman books that I have read, they seem to have a different tone to them than Stephen King's books. I mean, there's some similarities, but they seem to have a different tone overall than King's books written under his own name. Anyway, what this is about this fella, Billy Halleck, and one night him and his wife are driving along, and she is doing him a favor, if you get my drift, all right? And he's not paying attention, and he runs over this old gypsy woman. Well, he has got connections because he is a lawyer, and he has connections, and he gets off pretty much scot-free, or so he thinks. Next thing you know, the father of this old gypsy woman, the gypsy king himself, Tadeusz Lemke, comes up to him and touches him, and he said, "Thinner," all right? And then from that point on, Mr. Billy Halleck, who was rather obese at the time, starts to lose weight at a very rapid pace, and he's got to figure out a way to get rid of this curse before it is too late. All right? This is a cheesy movie. It's fun. I love the movie itself. It stars, I didn't say who it stars, Robert Burke, Joe Mantegna, and Lucinda Jenny as Robert Burke's wife in the movie. But yeah, and Michael Constantine. Michael Constantine plays the gypsy that curses him, and Carrie Wurr plays the gypsy girl. She's his granddaughter, and she's very, very pretty in this. I'll say that much. But yeah, like I said, this is a fun movie. It's not going to win any awards. The acting is decent, but you just have fun with this movie, watching this guy try to figure out a way to get out of this curse. And Joe Mantegna, of course, chews up the scenery as a mob boss who is friends with Billy Halleck and kind of helps him along the way. All right, so yeah, that is Thinner. All right, and that is going to do it. That is 5 spooky, scary, frightening movies from the year 1996. Until next time, thank you guys for watching, and take care and stay scared. Bye-bye.